Coach Joe in his field.
If you had to identify traits, both for your second category, the more garden variety leader, the person who can be a successful middle manager or even more than that, and then the transformational leader, your third category, what are some of the traits that make people stand out and that you look for in someone that you're thinking this is the future of FedEx?
Well, I think first and foremost, they have to be similar to General Marshall, a bit self-effacing. We don't need a lot of grandstanders and people that want the spotlight on them. You know, they are all the way back to Sun Tzu, you know, who made the famous quote that, you know, if you're a good leader, the ultimate test of that is that the people will accomplish great things and they'll think you had nothing to do with it. So I think they have to be self-effacing. I think they have to have an understanding of the mission. I mean, they have to, whether it's football or the military or FedEx or what have you, they've got to have that DNA. They've got to understand those little tiny details and be able to synthesize them together, particularly if they're organizations. And that's a very important thing. And I think they have to be team-oriented. Nobody can do things by themselves at any scale. And if you read about Marshall, Marshall was extraordinarily able to deal with difficult personalities and to synthesize them into a team. Admiral King, who was the chief of naval operations at the time, was a very prickly fellow. He had a very tough personality, and he was found to be intractable on many things. But Marshall could deal with him, and he did it in many different ways. Many times being self-effacing by walking over to King's office and so forth. Now he ended up being in charge of the whole shooting match and Roosevelt's architect of the war, but in the early stages he had to build that team synthesis to get things done, and he was a master at it.
There are a lot of military people in this room.
Some great ones, great diplomats too, and this is a wonderful audience here.
You spent 3 years in the military in Vietnam as a Marine. What did you learn from your military service about leadership and about getting people to pull together to execute a mission?
Well, I've always been very forthright about this. I attribute the experience I had in the Marine Corps to the success that we've had at FedEx. I've always been grateful to the Marine Corps. It's a great institution in terms of teaching people the fundamentals of leadership. And people on the outside of military organizations, I've always been amused because they view the military as people being subservient and clicking their heels and saluting and so forth, and it's just the opposite. The most effective military organizations have all been where the pyramid was upside down, where the people doing the mission were the most important and the officers were the least important. And again, that General Marshall made that point over and over again. So I've always been grateful for that. I did an article in the Naval Institute Proceedings about this very subject, and I don't think that you can have better training in terms of leadership than that's provided by the U.S. Armed Forces.
A lot of us have made mention this afternoon about FedEx's tremendous commitment to helping in times of crisis, humanitarian giving, to being a good corporate citizen. Obviously, you have the resources, you have a strong social conscience, and so you do it, but let me ask it from a different aspect. Is it good business to be a good corporate citizen?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been asked that question before, and in fact, I recently did an interview on this subject with the New York Times, and the interviewer asked that same question: Is it good business? And the answer to that question is based on the research that we have. Is it's unequivocally good business. The reality is, because of what you do in the internet, everybody is wired with every thing that's going on in the world for good or ill. And people have perceptions of commercial enterprises which are based largely on the products or services that they provide, but equally it's their public persona. And sometimes the public persona trumps far and away good products and services. So younger people in particular, Bill Margaritas, who's here, the head of our corporate communications, will show you chapter and verse that all things being equal, they will opt for the company that they think is a good corporate citizen. So that is the answer to the question, in that it's yes, it's good business. But I think there's a second thing about it, Chris. You know, FedEx is this huge enterprise with almost 700 planes, 85,000 trucks, all of this incredible logistics knowledge and distribution capability. And in fact, us and UPS and then the U.S. military are the biggest logistics organizations in the world. And we're the largest by far in terms of worldwide and air cargo, about 60%, moving greater than the next largest entity. And so you really have to ask yourself, with people in Haiti experiencing this sort of horrible catastrophe, or in China, and we have the capability 100 miles away or 200 miles away, can you stand by just as another human being and not lend a hand? So I think it gets to be an ethical question too. If we were in some other business, maybe it wouldn't be such a question. But it's almost impossible for us to say we're not going to be involved, even if it weren't good business and we are able to afford it. But there's a third reason, and I think every one of my team members here in the audience would agree with this. They all love to be involved in helping folks using the resources that FedEx brings to the table. We have a volunteer program called FedEx Cares. Mostly good. I understand we kind of botched up one the other day, but they volunteer and go fix houses and churches and play yards and things like that. And I have to tell you, I think our folks like doing that as much as anything. They like being involved with FedEx. And so for all three of those reasons, we do it. It's good business. It's the ethical thing to do. And basically what we do are to support organizations like the Red Cross and Heart to Heart and Salvation Army, who they know the ground. They're the infantry. We're the support troops, because they've been doing it for decades. And that makes it easy for us. That's probably a fourth reason, working with great folks like the Red Cross.